Actually, Dennis Sanchez, who is with us in Seattle. Oh,
Toyota Stadium in Frisco, Texas, here for the second semifinal of the Premier Division of the Generation Adidas Cup 2017 competition on MLSsoccer.com. David Goss and Ziggy Schmidt joining you for this one as the Philadelphia Union of Major League Soccer face off against Mexican opposition Tigres out of Monterrey, looking for a spot to face off against NYCFC in the championship game. John Wiener, our head official, Alicia Messer, Dan Stupka, and Rosendo Mendoza, our fourth official, will be in charge of this one. A classic rivalry, USA against Mexico. Ziggy, it's been a long few days now. This is their fourth day of competition for these young players here in the big stadium, a chance to go to a championship. They've worked so long for this. How do the coaches help these players come out and perform?
well, obviously, after you've played already 4 games, now you're really going to see whether players how they do on their decision making, because they maybe don't have the same fitness level they had earlier. And so as a coach, you're really going to emphasize to your team about keeping possession, making sure you take your chances when they present themselves. And you've gotten this far, you might as well go all the way. If you're going to get this far, you don't want to squander it here and not put in the best effort that you can. So a good effort is something both teams will bring. And, this is international competition, which for the MLS Academy teams is something that every player strives for.
So Philadelphia Union won Group B on 9 points. They beat Monterrey in the second match 2-1. They beat Chicago in the third match 2-1 after a 5-0 opening win against New England to win the group. They come into this one fairly similar to they have all tournament. Christopher Shakes in goal, the USU 17 international. Nicholas Sesak at right back, John Wagner and Michael Pellegrino at center back, and Kevin Escobar at left back. Seth Kuhn, the captain, in the holding midfield role, number 31. Ahead of him will be Julian Anderson and Brendan Aronson. And left to right in the attack, Nick Blacklock, Chad Letts, the leading goal scorer. And on the right side, Texas native Axel Picasso. On the flip side for Tigres, as we get kicked off by Letts, back to Kuhn. Alan Flores in goal. Right to left defensively, Juan Arizola, Cesar Jimenez, Eric Monsivallas, who started every game alongside Jimenez, and Jose Ontiveros at left back. And a clean 4-4-2. Coming to this one for Tigres as Philly tries to attack in these opening minutes. Blacklock down that wing. And it looks like that ball rolled out of bounds. It'll be a throw-in. Jair Martinez on the right wing for Tigres. Their central midfield duo of Adrian Garza and Cesar Hernandez. And Jesus Garza at left midfield. Adrian Garza with 2 goals for Tigres already in this competition. Up top, Miguel Rodriguez and Patrick Vendrikovsky. Vendrikovsky a goal himself as Tigres won Group D on 6 points. They beat Portland 2-0 in their first game. They beat the Dynamo 2-1 in their second game and then fell to DC United 2-1 in their third match. These two teams look for a spot in our championship game coming up on Saturday. NYCFC beating San Jose 2-0 already. And now the Philadelphia Union looking to remain perfect in this competition. Let's lays it off. It's tackled away. A shot still taken by Philly, and now back out. Philly looking to come down the right wing now. Picasso with the armband on. He whips in the cross, and the header goes just wide from Brendan Aronson, who's exploded in this tournament as well as Letts, putting up 4 goals already.
No, definitely. Philly's played really well on the flanks early on. They've showed some really good speed there, by Blacklock on the one side and De Sosa on the other side. An excellent cross that really could have turned into a goal, but it's good pressure, and they're showing good speed on the flanks.
A free kick will now go in favor of Tigres. Tigres, of course, one of the giants of Mexico. Currently in the CCL Championship. Last year's most recent tournament winner in Liga MX as this ball gets clipped over the top. It's headed down, but not far enough. A second chance coming here and blocked away. And now Philly looking to exploit those flanks once again. Ball rolled down into the path of Letts as he collides there. And it'll be a free kick against him. Monsiváis able to earn that free kick.
You've got an interesting tactical matchup, too, today because you're looking at a team that's really playing a 4-3-3 in the Union, and then you've got Tigres that's really playing a more traditional 4-4-2 with maybe their right winger tucking in a little bit. But definitely different formations from each of these teams.
Pellegrino heads that one away. Not a lot of teams here, MLS teams playing 4-4-2s. We see a number of different formations, and most of the Mexican teams come out in that formation. It's just an interesting trend that we've noticed throughout this tournament.
But remember, formation is just the numbers you start off at the beginning of the sequence or at the kickoff. You look like it, and then it morphs into something different. And what you're really trying to do is get the players into positions that can best use their abilities and put them into good situations.
Long ball played over the top here. Garza cutting in. He clips it towards that far post, and it's taken by Shakes diving out there. First time he's touched the ball in these opening few minutes. Christopher Shakes out of Coral Gables, Florida. In his first full year with the Philadelphia Union Academy, he spent some time training with the USU 17s in Bradenton.
I also heard he spent some time with the Union in preseason as well, so that's always good for a young goalkeeper when you can get that kind of exposure.
Philadelphia Union, a number of young goalkeepers they're excited about. Thomas Romero debuted as the youngest goalkeeper in USL history last week with the Bethlehem Steel. He, along with Shakes, as Ziggy Schmitz mentioned, and Dos Santos, all down to train with that first team. Ziggy, what is the decision-making when you bring a young player, a player who won't make the team to preseason?
Well, what you're trying to do is expose them to the different level of play, the different speed, because it's definitely a faster speed for a goalkeeper. You're going to face different type of shooting, more consistent shooting, and you really want to see how they interact and how they handle the next level. It's a little bit of, can he swim? Does he sink? What can we do?
Picasso getting into the box once again. He cuts this one back for Letts, and it's cleared away at the last second there by Monsiváis. Lara trying to get on the ball in that attacking midfield role. Garza, one of the leading lights offensively for this Tigres side. He had the 2 goals against Houston in their victory. One of their leading passers in that attacking midfield role. So that'll be a free kick in favor of Tigres. They choose to go short. Now the through ball. It's held up by Garza. Slide tackled away. Now Letts. Back out here. We've seen Picasso be aggressive already down this wing. He loses possession.
A little bit of a heavy touch as he came inside.
Letts now getting pushed off the ball. And finally the call made by our head official, John Wiener. So a free kick in a dangerous spot coming here for the Union. It looks like potentially Seth Kuhn will be on top of this one. The right back, Nicholas Sesak, coming over as well.
And Letts did well there holding up the ball. When you're playing in a 4-3-3, you want your center forward to be able to play with his back to goal. And he did a good job of holding the ball and drawing the foul, and that gives your team a good opportunity to get on the board.
So it's Kuhn with the left foot. And Sesak with the right foot standing over it. Kuhn takes the shot, and it's right on our goalkeeper Flores for the save. First chance of the game.
I think Kuhn wants that one back. I think you can hit that a little bit harder and a little more precise. But
a decent shape on it, but not to either side of the goalkeeper.
A little too central.
Philadelphia Union investing heavily in their academy, as a number of MLS teams have pushed to do, building out a program with the YSC to create a school where they can house young players and allow them to train full-time together. Ziggy, when you heard about this, they were the first team to do this in MLS. What were your thoughts? Have you had conversations with other clubs that have looked to do it as well?
No, I thought it was fantastic. I mean, it's very much a European or even a South American model. When you look at a club like Estudiantes, does the same thing in Argentina. And combining education and soccer was fantastic. And Philadelphia has really been on the forefront of that. And other teams have come along now and followed to a certain degree the same kind of format. But definitely Philadelphia's in the lead there.
Philly Union also putting together a USL team in the Bethlehem Steel, as I mentioned before. Thomas Romero making his debut, starting Derek Jones, a homegrown player in central midfield for every game so far this season at the MLS level, as they look to create that connection. Garza coming back to his own goal. Gives it to his midfield partner, Hernandez. Cesar Hernandez with his third start of the tournament in that holding midfield role. Let's able to close on the defender and try and force the turnover. And now Tigres back attacking the other way, and Picasso comes back and helps out. Ziggy, one of the things we hear a lot about these young players is attacking players being taught how to defend and how to help defensively. It seems like one of the biggest talking points when you talk about young, it's exciting attacking players is always the response, but does he defend?
It's so hard to say. Do I really want a talented attacking player to spend a lot of time defending? Not really. For me as a coach, what I used to say to players is your job defending-wise when you're a good attacking player is just get in the way. Get in the way and make them play it to the other side of the field, and you've done your defending job. But, they're not going to defend. They're not going to win tackles like defenders do or defensive midfielders do, but they have a different job on the field.
Wagner with the turnover in a dangerous spot, and Tigres wanted to play it quickly. But our head official, John, we're in there holding up play and now talking to Sesek, the right back, who's actually covered a ton of ground so far in this game. Popping up in the middle of the field, coming back to help there. So now Tigres a chance to push some numbers forward into the box. It'll be Hernandez to take. And he clips it down that left wing, but just too long, an opportunity wasted there for Tigres.
It's interesting for Philly today because, like you said, most teams in the academy system will play with some version of one striker or three up front, so now they're playing a team that plays two up front, and it's something they don't see all that often. So for their two central defenders, it becomes a unique situation. They're both having to mark up. It changes the outside backs role a little bit and allows them to step up and pressure like they did on this goal kick.
Last year in this same competition, we ended up with 3 Liga MX teams in the championship, in the semifinals, 2 going on to the championship between Monterrey and Chivas. This year, MLS teams coming out on top of Mexican teams in 3 of the groups. We've seen Chivas fall. We've seen Monterrey fall, as well as Pumas. Tigres, the lone team moving up. From what you've seen, from the time that you've spent looking at academies, watching what Mexico's done, where does the U.S. compare right now in their player development? How different is it?
I think MLS is improving and growing all the time, and the real improvement.
Long shot coming here, ripped over the top.
The real improvement on growth and so forth is that the variability in the game of the players, their ability to adapt to different styles, to become aware of different types of styles of play and players, has really increased the knowledge of the players and has made them better able to solve decisions in the game and on the field. And so that's an area that you really see our teams improving, and hopefully the improvement will continue because out of that we'll create some great players.
Picasso with a header in the wrong direction. Now Garza laying the ball up the field, charging forward here for Tigres as they now pull it back just a little bit. Picasso trying to make up for his mistake. Bendrakovsky on the ball. And now Hernandez looking to pull the strings. A great pass out wide right. but not able to keep playing forward was Martinez, and then the shot blocked. And now Letts will put on the Jets to try and chase it. And Tigres able to handle it. And a high boot called there. Ziggy was a good opening 2 or 3 minutes from Philly. Now the last 10 minutes, Tigres controlling possession a lot more.
Yeah, Tigres has been a little more methodical in their play. You know, Garza's gotten involved a little more. That's helped their game. He's very aware. You can see he's a guy who, you know, they want to play through and sort of makes the game happen. But now their possession has started to pay off a little bit, and Philly needs to now combine their ability to counterattack along with their ability to possess and change the side of play.
Kuhn trying to find the feet of Aronson there. Good work defensively from Tigres. Hernandez now cycles that ball wide. Daria Zola, and it goes out for a Tigres free kick.
A Philly throw in.
Oh, excuse me, for a Philly throw in.
Just helping you out there a little bit.
Well, that's why we bring in the good veterans. Ziggy Schmidt, a couple MLS Cups, U.S. Open Cups alongside me, who has 0 trophies. But I can help you carry them if you ever need help.
There you go. My eyes are still working. My knees have let me down, but my eyes are still working.
John Wagner lays that ball off there for Anderson. Anderson playing in midfield alongside Kuhn and Aronson. Doing a little bit of the water carrying for Aronson, the more attacking central midfielder with 4 goals in this competition, tied with Letts for the lead on this team as well as in the division. Now going back to his own goal. Sesek with some work to do. Turns it over, quickly taken by Tigres. And good reaction at the last second from Wagner.
Yeah, they almost caught Philadelphia on that quick throw.
And you talk about international competition with young players. Every coach that I've talked to here has talked about how important it is and how many times they've been able to bring their team overseas. NYCFC mentioning that they felt like their players could be ready for this as Tigres tries to take advantage of the turnover here. A couple bodies go down and a free kick coming now in a dangerous area for the Mexican side. We've seen Philly make a few mistakes out of their own back, allowing an opportunity now for Tigres.
Yeah, Philadelphia's struggling a little bit defensively, but I really think it's more offensively. Their spacing offensively has gotten off a little bit, and even on the one play earlier, you had Kuhn go to support the ball, but he gets so tight that he overruns the hole he's in, and now the player can't play him. They lose possession. Tigres comes the other way. So they've got to do a better job right now of holding the ball because Tigres is starting to get the upper hand.
Patrick Vendrekoviski, 17-year-old with a goal already in this tournament over this free kick. He curls it just over the crossbar.
That didn't miss by much, and he definitely had Shakes going the wrong way. Shakes went right, and the ball went left. If he hadn't put it over the top, that was a goal.
As we look at this shot once again, as you said, curled that one towards that far post. And Shakes fortunate to see it go over the top.
And you quite don't see it on the replay, but Shakes' first step was to his right, and he had to come back, but it didn't hurt him.
Shakes tries to float it out. Hernandez clears it all the way back into the dangerous area. Pellegrino with the header one. And now Martinez with the turnover. Just at the last second, Aronson able to get a foot to it to Picasso. Philadelphia hanging in right now against Tigres after a bright opening first few minutes. And a turnover there from Aronson. And the pressure put on is too close there on Wagner. Now going back the other way. Tigres with the ball cut back. An offside called in the end there on Garza.
Philadelphia's back line did a good job of staying in a line, not dropping in and result the offside play. So it was a good job of holding their line, and it's good to see from young players.
We heard Estudiantes, who you mentioned as one of the best academies in the world. They've sold the highest amount of money-wise players in Argentina over the last few years. Talk about trying to teach kids to problem solve on their own on the field, and you talked about that a little bit. What does it take to allow kids to make mistakes but also to learn?
Well, you've got to put them into training situations that where they have to make decisions. If you take all the decisions away and you create an exercise or a drill where it's just becomes rote or there's no decisions to be made, then the kids will just habitually do it without thinking about what they're doing. So you got to put them in exercises where they got to make decisions, and you got to help them problem solve. Sometimes you got to stop it and say, okay, what are possible solutions? And then you get the players engaged and the people starting to make things.
Tigres stroking the ball around the midfield. And now along that back line, Ariozola has his pass deflected. And then finally the clearance there from Jimenez. A foot race up top right now. Pellegrino able to get to it and clear it out. Tigres continuing to stay on the front foot here, Ziggy.
No, there was the example of, because of the two forwards, there were 2v2 with the center backs, and as Tigres figures this out as the game goes on, they're going to realize that they're 2v2 with the center backs a lot, and if they can get the ball forward quickly, that'll be a big advantage for them.
Throw and take in here in the Philadelphia attacking third. Ariozola able to get by one, and the pass misplayed, and now Let's up top alone once again, trying to put on some pressure. Monsivias able to handle it cleanly, and now Garza down this left wing.
Garza almost pulled off something magical if he could have controlled that with his head, but it's a bit unfortunate.
20 minutes played so far here, our second semifinal of the Premier Division. David Goss and Ziggy Schmidt joining you here on MLSsoccer.com. Just 35-minute halves, so about 15 minutes left to play here as these two teams look to face off against NYCFC in our championship game. The Philadelphia Union on the back foot now after a bright couple first minutes as Shakes turns it over off his goal kick, and Philadelphia now gives up another throw-in.
And so far it's been a pretty even game. You know, Philadelphia probably had the best chance early off the cross where they just missed the header, but it's been an even game at this stage.
Tackle there from the midfielder Aronson. As that one rolls out once again. The best look of the game probably for Tigres, this man. Vendrejkovski had that free kick. Put just over the top. This one's tackled out. The 2016-17 Generation Adidas Cup here. A record amount of international sides invited by MLS to this competition. The Premier MLS youth competition as Let's beats one defender, turns it over, but now Philly able to get the ball back. One-on-one is Let's going out to his right foot. Curls the cross over the top of the box. Brought down on the far side by Blacklock. And now Philly pushes it wide to Escobar. Escobar trying to clip it over the top, but good amount of flair there.
There was a lot of individual skill there by Let's. The little step over, he showed his speed, beating him to the right, and then the cross was excellent. You know, he had that little bit of curl on it, that little bit of bend to the back post. If they would have maybe a bigger guy there, that would have been better for them, but I really like the quality of his service and where he put the ball.
Let's has been up top alone most of this game. Great turnover forced there by Sesak. Now he's in a one-on-one battle. He's able to get a cross away. Hernandez closes it down. Good pressure from Philly right now to keep it in. And finally they win a throw-in down this right side, right in front of the Tigres bench.
And Sesak on that cross, that's one of those where you're in the corner and you just want to bang it off their guy just to get a corner. And the guy jumped and ended up being a bad cross. But what you wanted to do was get a corner for sure.
Let's touch gets away from him. Vendrejkovski pressuring up top. One of the things we find that the international teams bring is another level of aggression for a lot of these MLS teams. Where are these young players at in terms of competing against international competition compared to maybe when you started? You've coached U20s, you've coached internationally, bringing young players overseas. Where do you see it now compared to when you started?
I think we're much better in the duels than we used to be. But it's still something that we need to improve. I think internationally, so many players are so good in one-on-one duels and individual duels, maybe because more times they're trying to survive for their livelihood. It's their way out. And for our players, we get into the duels, we work hard, but that end resolve sometimes isn't there. But it has gotten much better. Our defensive positioning, the way we attack it has improved. And now we just need to have that final resolve at key moments.
Ball clipped over the top and headed away. Looking to close out there is Blacklock. Headed back into the box. A good chance, a block, and then a save at the last second there on Garza. It was John Wagner sliding in to knock the ball away from Vendrekovsky before the save on Garza.
That was a saving tackle for sure as he came in, and then it was a great save by Shakes because he could have easily gotten beaten to the near post.
So a corner kick coming here for Tigres. Philly has everyone back to defend. It's alive in the box and scored. A leaping header for Miguel Rodriguez in the middle of the box off the corner kick, and Tigres take their lead as Rodriguez scores his second of the competition.
And that's just one of those where as a defender you've got your mark, but you see your goalkeeper come off the line, so you just relax a little bit thinking he's going to get the ball. He ends up doing a flyby, and then he's wide open for the header.
Philly had numbers back to defend. And you see Shakes reaching for it, and Rodriguez does well to get over that ball.
Rodriguez does well, but he also runs in unmarked. Looked like Philly was caught in a little bit of zone marking as well. And there's always the debate between coaches. Should you mark in zone on corner kicks? Should you mark man-to-man? I think a mix is the best, but I always think it's important to mark the other team's best headers and not just go pure zone. But that's my view of it. There's a lot of coaches who feel differently.
So philosophical of Ziggy to go with the mix. He's not radical either way.
There you go. It's just you try and please everyone, I guess is the word.
Which can be very impossible when you talk about soccer fans around the world.
Unfortunately, there's no perfect solution.
Tigres happy with what they've gotten so far as Shakes makes the save off Garza. So the opening goal for Tigres in this one. As I said, they went 2-1 in the group stage, a 2-0 win against Portland, a 2-1 win against Houston, and then a 2-1 loss against DC United. Philadelphia's trailed once so far in this tournament. It was against Monterrey in the group stage before coming back to win that one 2-1. As now Tigres gets on their horse looking for a second. And Nicholas Sesek making the recovery run and putting that one out behind the goal.
And at this stage for Philly, they really need Kuhn and Aronson and Anderson to step up in midfield, because when you look at their midfield, they're 3v2. Kuhn has really got to start demanding the ball, start running the game a little bit more, because that's where they have an advantage in the middle of midfield. And right now, everything they're doing in their attack is down the flanks. They had success with that early, but now they're not. So they really got to start dominating the middle of field, because that's where Tigres is taking over the game.
It'll be another corner kick coming. Tigres scored off their last one from the opposite side. Left-footed in-swinger.
The center back, in that particular case, did the right thing. Pellegrino did the right thing, stepping up. He just doesn't need to foul him. But it's something their center backs need to do now, is they got to get tighter to the forwards.
And we've talked about adjusting in games. We've talked about emotions for these young players. Playing against a number of players who are older than them. A very aggressive team right now in Tigres and Philadelphia out there. They have about 6-7 more minutes before they get to halftime. These players have to figure this way out by themselves on the field.
No, the players have to figure it out for sure. Here comes Tigres again with the ball. But, now is where, as a coach, where you start seeing who are your leaders, who are the guys who can help each other, help themselves and help their teammates.
Vendrekovsky coming in here. He curls the right-footed shot. Doesn't take a deflection, so it'll go out for a goal kick.
So just to continue on that, so when a game's turned against you, the game right now is turned against Philly. They are having trouble getting beyond midfield. They're asking Letts to cover the full width of the field. He's on his own, way too much. They haven't been able to take advantage of midfield. Now, which player is going to step up? Who's going to say, give me the ball. I want the ball. I can turn this thing around. Or is everybody just looking glassy-eyed at each other saying, I hope you can do something? And as a coach now is where you see who has that internal attitude and fortitude that can then make it to the next level.
Kuhn now gets on the ball, and it looks like Picasso, who is playing out wide right, floating over to that left side to get possession. Cross trickled in, cleared away in front of the goalkeeper, and now Philly trying to put some pressure on. And finally cleared by Tigres.
This is better from Philly now. They're starting to control the middle of midfield. Kuhn's getting more involved.
And then number 44, Picasso, who is playing out wide right. We saw him in the early game, now floating over closer to the ball. And Ziggy, as you talk about who's going to demand the ball, we see him go create that attack and now helping them lash it around the field. Of course, as I say it, he turns it over.
That's always the announcer's curse. But, it has been better. And, there's a ball that maybe could have gone to Kuhn, but they're still keeping possession. They're building now through midfield, starting to take advantage of the numbers, and that's a big deal. Now as they come wide, they maybe don't have to go down the line. They can maybe go back and make them shift and slide a little bit more. They need to make Tigres work harder defensively than they've worked for the last 15 minutes or so.
Kuhn looks to go long down the right wing. Headed away simply there by Ontiveros. And now Garza gets back on the ball.
See, that's too much space. You can't have that much space.
Garza to Garza there. And now Jesus Garza looking to get by Sesek. Philly able to win back possession.
Got to find the midfielder. There you go.
And Picasso here on the ball once again. He's got a little bit of space to run. He's got Letts to his right and Blacklock to his left. And he collides with Cesar Jimenez.
Applaud his effort. His decision wasn't good, but applaud his effort.
So now, Jesus Martinez has been dangerous down this wing so far in this first half. About 3-4 minutes left to play. Tigres leading through the 24th minute goal by Miguel Rodriguez. These games, 2 35-minute halves, penalty kicks if we're still tied. 5 substitutions allowed for both teams. These coaches, an opportunity to get a lot of players some experience as well as the ability to really change the game up if they want to. And this one floated just too long. Ziggy, what have you seen so far from these two sides?
Well, it's two sides that the game's gone back and forth a little bit. The very beginning of the game early on, it was definitely Philly having more success attacking over the flanks and doing well. Tigres then got a hold of the game. They were very methodical. They played through midfield. Their front line dropped off into that hole behind Philly's midfield, fronted their defense, and was able to hold possession. Now Philly is holding on to the ball a little more, and they're getting back into the game. But they still need to do better about keeping possession.
Turnover initially there by Escobar. Guatemalan U17 for Philly as Letts tries to bring this one down in the box. He's able to, and the follow-up shot from Picasso, and he can't get his foot around it. Sesek plays it to the top of the box. Good work there by Anderson. His curling shot is blocked. It goes all the way back out to the left winger, Blacklock. It looks like Hernandez, who took that shot off the chest, is down on the top of the box. Now Kuhn sitting deep. He sprays it to the right side. Sesek charging in, trying to get by Ontiveros, and his touch just a little bit too long.
But that was better. That's what you need to see from Kuhn. Supporting, he stayed in the hole away, and then being able to open the game up makes a big difference.
Sesek coming forward from that right back position. Final few minutes of the first half here. David Goss and Ziggy Schmidt on MLSsoccer.com. This, the second semifinal of the Premier Division. NYCFC winning our first matchup 2-0. So they move on to the final. And now Tigres leading 1-0. Looks like they might be on their way to a championship matchup. We've got 2 more games after this coming your way this evening. We've got an all South American affair, Independiente del Valle versus River Plate in the championship division first semifinal, and New York Red Bulls facing off against Brazilian Giants Flamengo in our second semifinal. Ziggy Schmidt will join us back for the call there, as New York Red Bulls the lone MLS representative in the championship division. And that's all for this first half. Tigres with the lone goal in this one, as Philadelphia started off brightly, Ziggy, and as you said, Tigres has found those openings in between the midfield and the back line. They've exploited them for a successful first half.
Yeah, Tigres exploited them. They found that gap in front of the center backs from Philly and behind the midfield. And the other thing is, like I said at the very beginning, when you're playing your fourth game, this is where your technical ability shows through. You're a little bit fatigued, legs are a little bit heavy, and if you're not really clean technically, you'll turn the ball over. And I think Philly's had more turnovers than they normally have. And so now it's a matter of the coach getting them to concentrate and refocus.
A few good opportunities for Philly in this first half, a couple of cutbacks from the end line. A dangerous shooting opportunity here off that free kick for Vendrakovsky, as well as this big save made by Shakes. And then the goal coming for Tigres off the corner kick, and as you said, unmarked chance for Rodriguez to put in the net.
Exactly, and as I said, it's the difference between zone marking and man-to-man. And my thing on zone is always, if you've got a guy standing there in a space, he's standing and jumping, and the opponent is running and jumping. And I think we all know that when you run and jump, you generally can go a little higher. So that's why I'd rather have some players jump with them or run with them to maybe impede their run, throw them off a little bit, but also so they're moving at the same time. But at the end of the day, as a defender, you see your goalkeeper come, you relax a little bit, and sometimes then it's too late.
Well, Philadelphia Union have a half left to try and come back here and make a championship game against their Northeast rival NYCFC as Tigres lead 1-0. David Goss and Ziggy Schmidt will be back in just a few minutes with all your second half action here on MLSsoccer.com.
dominate the game as they did for that middle 15 minutes of the first half.
Philadelphia Union and Tigres in the second semifinal of the Premier Division looking to face off against NYCFC in the championship on Saturday at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time on MLSsoccer.com. Tigres here with good work to get behind the goal. Shakes, retreats, and Tigres with their second goal of the game just seconds in to the second half. Miguel Rodriguez once again.
Excellent goal. He just stayed onside. Ball gets played in behind. Does a good job of keeping his shot low and beating Shakes on the shot. Timing-wise, the earliness of the goal in the second half is something that's really going to be disheartening for Philly. So it's going to take a lot of fortitude now to get back into this game.
It was a great 1-2 between Rodriguez and it looked like Garza to launch him, and then Shakes comes out, decides to retreat, and Rodriguez able to finish by him.
No, definitely. And for sure Garza has had a huge influence on this game. And has probably at this stage for me been the best player for Tigres. But we got to see what Philly has now. We got to see, them stepping up. We got to see the fortitude and who are the leaders in this team. They're not out of the game, but it's definitely going to require some work, and they've got to get the next goal in order to put themselves back in the game.
An uphill battle for the Union coming here as they trail against Mexican powerhouse Tigres of Monterrey. 2-0 right now here at Toyota Stadium in Frisco, Texas, as Garza shows a little bit of flair and skill to keep possession. A good battle over there on the wing. And finally, it looks like a free kick will go in favor of Philly. Tigres lost to DC United in their final group stage game, as Philadelphia went undefeated in the group stage with 3 wins, including one against Tigres rival Monterrey. And now Tigres up 2-0 here in the opening minutes of the second half. And Ziggy, we talked about adjusting. Philly got a chance to go in the locker room and have their coach give them some adjustments, and now immediately they give up a goal to open the second half.
Well, obviously everything you say at halftime goes out the window when that happens. But you can see some of the adjustments Philly's made when they were bringing the ball up on the left side, on the right side. They definitely tucked in. Picasso was tucking in, trying to join up with Letts, not leaving him so much on his own. And that was something that was not very good in the first half. So they've definitely talked about some things. Now they just need to implement them.
All the way back there to our goalkeeper Flores, who's had to make only about 1 or 2 saves so far in this one. Now Tigres back on the attack once again. Intercepted there by Aronson. Kuhn going back towards his own goal. Plays it up the wing. And that one handled by Shakes. Philadelphia Union trying to make it an all-MLS championship in the Premier Division. They have an uphill battle here to go. As Tigres now looking to make it 3. They're not quite able to get there.
But on the last play was the example of the forward, Vendrachovsky. I think that's how you say it. Dropping off and finding that space in front of the 2 center backs. And neither of the center backs is stepping up with them. And at this point in the game, down 2-0, you definitely have to step up with them, not allow them to turn and expose your defense and run at your defense.
A lot of Monterrey Tigres has given Philly a lot of trouble. We were talking a little bit at halftime about this 4-4-2 for Tigres and how these Philly players not quite used to playing with 2 forwards consistently on that top line. There's a physical play there from Vendrachovsky. And now Kuhn able to get the possession back for Philly. But Philly struggling throughout that first half to deal with the forwards for Tigres. Blacklock comes wide, trying to beat the first defender. Good work, though, from Arzola. And now in, once again, Aronson. And it's taken off his foot and cleared.
I think the center back got away with one there. So he definitely, but at least he was tight, which is something they need to be. And the thing you were alluding to is Philly's so used to playing against one forward, so the center backs have it a little bit easier. They can pass on players, and they don't have those. Each of them gets stuck in a 1v1 duel, and that's a little bit of the adjustment that they have right now.
These two center backs, Michael Pellegrino and John Wagner, been put to work so far in this one. Now out wide to Escobar. Escobar to New Brunswick, New Jersey. I mentioned before, Guatemalan U17 international. One of two CONCACAF internationals on this team, along with Letts. Doesn't play for the United States or Canada.
But that was better from Philly. They got to move the ball around like that, and they've got to play the ball a little bit quicker. Just make those passes a little bit faster, and that'll, keep Tigres from being able to shift and slide all the way.
Coming back to the ball there is Anderson. Getting it to his partner in midfield, Aronson. We've seen good things happen when Picasso gets on the ball. Now Letts with the layoff for Aronson, and Aronson puts it over the top.
It looked dangerously close to offside, but what an opportunity. No offside flag. Aronson was in. He's got to put that on net.
He's got 4 goals in this competition. You can see why. The movement. We see Picasso come off the wing. Letts with the layoff. And then Aronson just not composed enough to get the finish.
No, the movement was great. The combination with Letts was fantastic. And the whole buildup from Philadelphia was very good. If they continue to play in this manner, they'll get some more chances.
Kuhn plays it wide to Sesek. Out there in front of that VAR 10 on that far side. We saw it used in our first game to review a play and give a penalty kick for NYCFC in favor of NYCFC, which eventually was saved, but they went on to win 2-0. No need for it so far in this game, as we expect it won't be used in the majority of games, based on the numbers they've come out with in testing over the last few years. Picasso down that right wing, gets some open space, headed away at the near post by Tigres, and then Blacklock's touch just a little bit too long, allowing Ariozola into play. Blacklock recovers now. He's got some space to cross. The left-footed cross in at Letts, headed away in the middle there by Jimenez. Now Escobar in the battle and wins it back out, but first time we've really seen Philly pressure Tigres and keep them in here early on in this second half, as they've got 2 substitutions coming as well.
Now, Philly's played very well in the last 2-3 minutes. They've done very well. They need to maybe their back line, their midfield line, when they're attacking, need to step forward another 5 to 10 yards, so it'll allow them to keep pressure on Tigres. But it's definitely an improved Philadelphia look in these last 5 minutes.
So 2 substitutions coming on. It'll be Brendan Aronson, who just missed that opportunity, and Nick Blacklock coming off in place of them. For this Philadelphia team, Marco Guy Blah as well, it looks like, as Iverson Brisma, who's a veteran of this program. As a long shot comes in, so Philly making adjustments as we've seen them get a little bit more possession, waiting about 10 minutes in this first half to make those moves.
No, they're definitely playing more aggressive. They're stepping up, and as a result, they're holding on to the ball better. It's unfortunate they took that early goal in the second half, because right now they are starting to take control of the game.
Brisma coming on has a goal so far in this tournament against Chicago in that 2-1 win to close out the group stage as our first Yellow card's going to be shown here to Nicholas Sesek.
It was definitely a foul, definitely a yellow, I think. But, you know, for me, again, as a coach, and I'm trying to look at it for you guys out there as a coach, his starting position was so deep. You know, the player's taking a goal kick, the goalkeeper's taking a goal kick. He's so far off his man that he's got to make this massive run to try and win the ball. If he's 5-10 yards further up the field, it's a much easier header for him. He probably doesn't foul him, and maybe he wins that header.
Down injured now for this Philadelphia team. When you look at the difference between these two sides right now, 2-0, Tigres about 53% possession. Is it athletic ability, shape, technical ability, aggression? What have you seen that separated these two sides?
I think it's a little bit of the two. It's a little bit of shape, and it's a little bit of technical ability. And it's not so much offensive shape as it is sometimes defensive shape. Or the offensive shape, a lot of times what we forget about is when a team's attacking, we only look at the players involved in the attack and we look at their shape. But it's what is the shape of the players behind them, so when the ball turns over, we're in a good position to keep the pressure on. And that's where Tigres has shown a better ability than at this stage Philadelphia has.
Charging forward now, Tigres now getting back into the play. It was the center back Jimenez pushing forward. Now on to Veros, makes the overlapping run. Sesek, after picking up that yellow card, able to win back possession for his side. Kuhn's looking for a runner. He eventually goes wide towards the substitute, but misplayed.
Eventually ran out of ideas, and all three forwards were running away. So it's tough when all what you see is the back of somebody and his elbows as he's running away. It's tough to play him the ball sometimes.
So it looks like Ivan Lopez is coming on for Tigres. And it seems like he'll be coming on for the left midfielder, Jesus Garza.
Are they related, Jesus and Adrian? Do we know?
I don't believe so. They are both talented.
They are talented.
We know that. This is Lopez's first appearance of the tournament. He's 16 years old. Z, when you have players at these ages, where do you expect them to be in their development? How much are you talking to them about professional at an age like 16 or 17?
Well, you know, they got to be at a stage where they're getting close. You know, technically you want them to be pretty good. They've still got to get maybe more consistent technically, but they've got to show some things. You also want to see at this stage of a young player, you want to see what is the quality that sets him apart. Is it pace? Is it dribbling ability? Is his shooting on goal, his heading, his marking, his passing? What is it that sets him apart from the rest of the group? You want to see that. But as a coach, what you're teaching them now is body position, shape, you know, where you need to be when the ball's not near you, how you position yourself off the ball, how you position yourself on the ball. But technically, you should be getting a lot closer to where you are in your final ability.
It was Ontiveros coming forward. Lopez, the substitute. But a foul goes against Garza. Looked like a high, dangerous kick there.
Yeah, he might have gotten kicked there where hopefully he's not bleeding and has to come off. I think he's okay.
It was Wagner coming over from his center back position. And Ziggy, when you look at the process in Major League Soccer from youth player to professional player, we've seen more ranks come in, more youth teams on MLS academies, of course, USL sides. How do you see that process working so far, especially compared to when you first got in to coaching here in the U.S. before MLS existed?
Yeah, I think the process is getting much better. I mean, there's always the breakout talents. Like, you know, in Seattle, we were fortunate with the DeAndre Yedlin, a Jordan Morris, you know, a Kellen Acosta. You know, there's breakout talents like that. But what's really happening now with the USL teams is you're getting those guys who are developing maybe a little bit later, need a little more maturing. They're getting that opportunity to mature now at the next level and take an intermediate step, because it's tough jumping from under 18 straight into the pro environment. That intermediate step is key.
Lopez has been aggressive since He's come on as a substitute for Tigres. He'll take this corner kick he earned. Left-footed corner. Headed down once again, an open header on a corner kick.
That'll definitely go into the coach's book about we need to improve on this.
Ziggy Schmidt giving a shake of the head as he watches another wide open Tigres header. Philly trying to go down the line. Now turned over. It's Brisma. He gets the ball back, and he wins a free kick.
One of the hardest things for young players to learn, and it's a foul and a good free kick spot. But one of the hardest things for young players to learn is to have vision and take what I call snapshots all over the field. As that ball got played into Kuhn never looked to his right, wasn't aware what was open on his right, so it forced him to play back to the left, and they got a free kick out of it. But if he would have looked the other way, he might have had the winger in. And it's just that awareness. It doesn't mean you got to play the ball, but you have to be aware. And you get guys always on a swivel. I remember watching Robbie Keane warm up, and as he's collecting balls on the ground, he's turning and turning all the time, just in warm-ups, just to get into that habit.
It'll be Kuhn to take this free kick here. We saw him take one in the first half that he put pretty straight on goal, and now we've got a review coming. So the VAR checked this play as they check every play, and he has recommended to John Wiener, our head official, that he's seen a clear and obvious error for a review, and this could be on mistaken identity, or it could be on the color of the card that should be given here. So as we allow for review, Ziggy, this is about to come live in Major League Soccer games after the All-Star game. You had an opportunity to sit with the VAR. Before this, what have you seen from this process?
Well, obviously they're developing the process. They're fine-tuning it right now. It's getting better, with each game that they do. But it's something that's needed for me as a coach, and I know I'm a traditionalist, but it's something that our sports needs. We've got obvious errors that you've seen occur in games. Sometimes it costs countries appearances in World Cups, and we've got to identify those obvious errors. But at the end of the day, the final decision on certain things are still in the referee's hands. And, he's the one who's going to make that final decision. And it looks like we've got a red card coming here.
So a red card coming for that tackle after the review. And it looks like Juan Arizola will come off. A red card coming here in the 53rd minute. The second review we've seen of the day, both of them resulting in a change of the call. We knew it was a free kick, Ziggy. The opportunity to go back to look at the extent of the foul. It was a quick review for Wiener.
And at the end, like I said, they leave that final decision up to the referee in the middle. The video referee has said, hey, this is something I think maybe should be a red, but you need to look at it, and he's got to make that final decision.
As Kuhn now takes the free kick, Philly's got a little bit of life offside there from Sesic.
It's a great opportunity for Philly, but just to get back to the VAR for a second, it's like every play gets looked at. It's not something where, somebody's got to, throw a flag like in American football, and say we want this play reviewed. Every play gets looked at, and if the video referee feels there's something there, then it goes to the referee taking a look at it himself.
So we get official confirmation from the referees that a review was commenced by our head official. The review identified a clear error, and our play restarts with a direct free kick because the player committed a red card offense. So we see Juan Arizola given the red card, and now Tigres forced to play man down. So they'll make two substitutions here to try and fill in for those gaps. 5 substitutions allowed per either team. And we'll see if Philly can try and take advantage. I mentioned Monterrey got a red card in their second group stage game. Philly won that one 2-1 after being down 1-0. And now down 2-0. They've got a little over 20 minutes to try and get back into this one. Let's dropping a little bit deeper, keeps possession, gets it to the feet of Kuhn. Kuhn clips it over the top.
just
And it goes
misread
out.
each other a little bit. You know, he thought he was going to break, and he ended up not breaking in towards goal, so Kuhn ended up hitting the ball out of bounds. But, you know, Tigres is going to bring in some subs to stay fresh now, obviously to get fresh legs on the field. They've gone into a 4-4-1, and Philly's got to press the action now for sure. They got that man advantage.
So 2 substitutions on the left there. Aram Orozco coming on the right. Ivan Poras coming on. Orozco, this will be his 3rd appearance playing in defensive midfield. It looks like he's coming on for Garza to bring a little bit more defensive steel to this team to help them see out their lead.
And I haven't seen Garza play enough. I thought he was the best player on the field today for Tigres. Looks like he's carrying his leg just a little bit as he came off. But, you know, he was definitely very influential in his time.
So Orozco and Poras come on. Poras played at right back in the last group stage game. You see here on the ball against DC United, so he'll fill in for that red card on that right wing and immediately earns a corner kick. 20 minutes to play here. This young Tigres side will have to play man down, but they've got a 2-goal lead to sit on, as Philadelphia now will have to defend another corner kick. And they've got a substitute coming for themselves right after this play. It looks like Abubakar Kamara.
They might as well have made the sub then, because Tigres has certainly taken their time.
Porras takes the corner. It comes out to the top of the box for Lopez, and his shot goes over the top. And Ziggy, when you look at this competition, and we've talked about youth development coming along, but the entire thing, VAR, you talk about how many players are here. You had the opportunity, you said, to go out and meet a couple people who you coached as players that are now back coaching youth academies, coaching Major League Soccer sides. The whole professional game, how have you seen it grow here in the U.S. and Canada?
Well, it's grown immensely. You know, we've been able, the game has grown, so it's allowed people to stay in the game. You know, when you look back years ago, a lot of players were in the game, and then after their time was done, you know, there was nothing left for them to do in the game, no involvement that they could really have. And now you have opportunities, jobs, situations that allows those players and their experiences to stay in the game and pass them on to the next generation of players.
Kuhn on the ball now. So Abubakar Kamara, center forward, coming on in place of Julian Anderson, more of a holding midfielder, to bring more attack. And not saved before it goes out. Was it by Iverson there? Down the wing. Excuse me, Brisma. Iverson Brisma. Ziggy, when you would look for youth coaches, when you look at former players, are there guys that you targeted from when they were first with you that you knew would be coaches? Is it guys that approached you?
Some you could sort of see it and say, okay, he'll probably be a good coach one day, that he shows some interest. And then there's some others that shock you. You go, no, there's no way I thought he'd end up being a coach. And they end up being a coach. And a lot of times those guys end up being the best coaches because it comes for them with a real passion and maybe a surprise, but it really makes them very committed to their craft. You know, but it's great to see guys like Josh Gardner, you know, saw Ro Myers, who's with Saprissa here. You know, Todd Saldana is involved with the under-12s. He used to play for me. I mean, there's a lot of guys out here for sure.
Kuhn over the top. Header coming back down there by Sesic. And no one on the end of it.
And Philly at this stage, they have to press the attack, but they also have to be patient a little bit at the right times. They can't just force it, because then they're not going to get good opportunities.
Long touch there. Chance for Rodriguez to try and run onto it. Now Lopez chasing. Cleared away to the feet of our goal scorer, Rodriguez. He's got the game-winning goal so far in this one in that first half. He scored in both the 24th minute and the 36th on both sides of the halftime whistle of the 70-minute game. And his team currently sitting on that 2-0 lead. His second and third goals of the competition. Tigres trying to set themselves up with a championship showdown against NYCFC here on Saturday at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time. We'll, of course, bring it to you on MLSsoccer.com. A little bit of show put on in midfield there by Guy Blah. And a free kick going against Philadelphia.
A lot of times in a game when you're maybe trying to push for a goal and so forth, you know, a lot of people say, oh, why don't they play an extra forward or change their formation? Well, when you're dominating the game, I don't think you really need to change the formation because you're creating chances. Philly right now is not creating chances, and they're still playing with 4 in the back, and they still got the 2 center backs marking 1 forward, sometimes no forwards. I think they need to push 1 more player forward.
Brisma collides with the substitute Porras. It's a throw-in going for Philadelphia. As Ziggy said, they need goals. About 10 minutes left in this match as Letts gets the ball to his feet. Haven't said that enough probably for Philly in this game. Picasso to Kuhn, and a shot comes in off the volley. It was the original shot from Guy Blau, our substitute, and the save made there by Flores.
That was decent. Good opportunity. He struck the volley well. That's good technique.
Seems like every time Letts or Picasso has some time on the ball, good things have happened for Philadelphia as this free kick goes against Tigres. Picasso here getting back on the ball, back in his native state of Texas. Played for Lone Star SC before heading to Philadelphia. He collides with a defender. This ball's still alive, and Letts just called for being a little over-aggressive there.
It's a little aggressive. The ball was jumping away from him. He ended up pushing the player. But, you know, he's got to be aggressive. He's got to take his chances. As a forward, you know, if you take a chance in the box, if they call a foul, they call a foul. But if they don't call a foul, it might be a goal.
Not a lot of touches, but Chad Letts, Jamaican U17 international, what have you thought of him so far?
I think he's done well. He's been on his own an awful lot, you know, and so it's made it difficult for him to play at times. He needed a little bit more support. Even when you play 3 up front and 2 wingers, you'd like to see 1 winger come off the line a little bit more. But when he's been asked to do something, hold the ball, run in behind, he's done a pretty good job with it.
Kuhn trying to change the point of attack. Sitting in that deep midfield role throughout this game, looking long for Letts, trying to lay it off for a teammate there in Kamaran. Successfully defended by Tigres. Tigres down a man, up 2 goals in these closing 10 minutes or so here at Toyota Stadium in Frisco, Texas. The semifinals of the Premier Division. On MLSsoccer.com, David Goss and Ziggy Schmidt joining you for this one.
And I know you can't see it at home the way the screen is and so forth. This is why live soccer is so much better. So I encourage you to come out to the stadium, but watch it on TV if you can't. But when you watch Philly attack right there, you know, Tigres was back with 9 players, and Philly had 4 players back marking 1. They only need 2 back there. Get the other 2 pushed up, get them involved so you have more options offensively, more places where you can play the ball, more people that can break in behind.
It looks like our hero, Miguel Rodriguez, will leave with 2 goals, 3 in the competition, as he gets a little bit of breather in our last few minutes. And coming on for him, Omar Doria. Doria here in his 3rd appearance. Has played mainly left midfield in this tournament. This one's cleared out, and Rodriguez, a successful day for him. Him and Garza up top. We saw also Vendrikovsky, a successful trio there offensively for Tigres.
No, and for sure Rodriguez with 2 goals was a very dominant player as well. You know, so some people might say, why do you like Garza better? I like them both, and finishing goals is something that's special and unique. But I always have a soft spot in my heart for those guys who create and come a little bit from behind, and that's what Garza did today. But Rodriguez was very good.
Picasso trying to push his way forward, and he loses possession. It's cleared once again by Tigres in these final few minutes. Not a lot of time left for Philadelphia to at least cut this lead. Force Tigres to panic. As Kuhn now coming back to take this throw in. Oh, and it looks like a substitution is made, and that's why. Escobar goes off, and Carter Emack coming on. So finally, Ziggy Schmidt gets what he wants, and it looks like Philadelphia is going to go maybe with a three-man back line, although Kuhn will fill in at left back when needed.
Yeah, we'll see how it shapes up if they're willing to throw a few more people forward. And I don't mean to be overly critical of Philadelphia. I hope people aren't thinking that out there. But it's like, this is the final aspect of our game that we need to improve upon, that ability to shape, understanding when to pressure, feeling comfortable in a 1-0 game. I think that's something that our players, maybe because too often they play in games that are not as difficult or not as close. You got to get comfortable in a 1-0 game. How do you manage a 1-0 game? How do you come back when you're down 1-0? Those are things that are things you need to learn by actual competition.
Yeah, a lot of these players coming in situations in regional competition where, like you said, they're in games where they get heavy leads early on, don't have to play a full game wire to wire as a tight game, and then they get chances in these international competitions as well as in Generation Adidas Cup qualifying with tighter games.
And they get tested in the development league as well. Don't think they don't get tested there, but the more games you play in these situations, the better you become.
Yeah, not a lot of players capable of doing something like Omar Doria there, the Tigres substitute. Skates right by one defender and is able to completely change the point of play to allow his team to breathe a little bit as we get close to stoppage time here. We've got 2 more games coming up for you today, so don't worry. There's still plenty to watch. Make sure you make time for it. 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time, Independiente de Valle out of Ecuador, a new club who's used their academy to make already a Copa Libertadores final run, and they face off against the Giants of Argentina, River Plate, who have won this competition the last 2 years running. No need to describe them at all, as their soccer history is well documented. After that, New York Red Bulls, the lone championship semifinal qualifier out of Major League Soccer, will face off against Flamengo, who I think to many have looked like the best team so far at this tournament, and we'll be back on the call with you for both of those.
And David, I don't know how you do it, how you do all these games. You must go straight home and sleep for like about 14 hours.
No, I'm going to go home and watch Major League Soccer and Champions League and Libertadores and Liga MX. That's how I refresh from watching soccer.
You're a man after my own heart there.
With the ball under his feet. And Ziggy, you come out here, and one of the things I'm learning, because I don't coach and something you've experienced, how to judge players. It seems so tough in situations where you don't know how good their competition is. You don't know how good their teammates are, whether they're in the right position. Scouting is something that we've heard talked about a lot this week, especially from the foreign teams, in finding the best players in their country. And how tough is that for coaches for these MLS clubs?
Well, talent is number one. Coaches who can identify talent and who can then nurture it is what you're looking for. But identification of talent is a unique quality and is a characteristic that you want to have. Too often I hear people talk about, well, if I had those guys, I could win too. Well, no, identifying those guys is the challenge, is what the technique is.
As Kuhn floats the cross in, Letts can't get to it. And then it's headed away. Philadelphia trying to find at least that first goal to see if they can get themselves to extra time and a penalty kick shootout. And now Picasso, he's got 4 defenders in front of him, and he's not going to be able to get by, and finally they clear.
And the other thing that goes with talent then is sometimes you learn a lot more from a game like this,
right,
that you lose 2-0 than in a game that you win 2 or 3-0, because you're seeing, okay, is he making the right decision at the right time? What exactly is his involvement in the game? How does he want to lead my team? what decisions does he make with pressure, because that's what's going to determine his ability at the next level.
Gets to the end line and then cleared away by Tigres. Iverson Brisma.
Brisma's been a bright light for them coming in.
Yeah, this is his second year with the academy. As Philadelphia in a rush to take this one. We've entered stoppage time here. Taken quickly and headed away. It looks like by a Tigres defender as it goes off the end line for a throw-in. Seth Kuhn, who's dropped into that left back spot when he's had to. And a free kick will go against Carter Emack. It looks like Tigres is going to hold on here.
I think so. I think they're going to hold on. It's not the day that Philadelphia expected, but it's still a great opportunity for all the players on their team. They're going to walk away from this game. They're going to have learned something. They can come back on Saturday and implement what they've learned and show their continued improvement. But you grow from situations like this.
How does the Philly coaching staff handle the next few 24 hours, 48 hours? Is it watching tape? Is it a little mention here or there? Is it a deep dive into this game?
It's a little bit. You got to know your players individually. Everybody is a little bit different. Some guys will respond to tape. Some guys respond to you talking to them. Some guys you got to give them a little bit of time and then come at them. But at the end of the day, you do have to communicate to all of them, and you've got to, not forget to tell them the things that they did well. Too often we only talk about, okay, this went wrong or that went wrong. But you got to tell them what they did well. You got to tell them, this is what you do well. I needed you to do more of this. It wasn't that you did this wrong. You didn't do enough of what you do well. And sometimes that's the encouragement players need.
Philadelphia, 9 points out of the group stage. They've got one more game to go. They'll play out at Toyota Soccer Park on the fields around the stadium, but it will be Tigres here in the big building on Saturday night in front of the crowd. They'll take on NYCFC. NYCFC, Ziggy, led the group stage in passes completed. They're the youngest MLS team in this competition, but geared around their three central midfielders who have controlled play, especially in Giovanni Reyna, Claudio Reyna's son. It'll be interesting to see how they match up against this Tigres team, who, after settling in, really took the game to Philly.
No, definitely, and obviously it's a style that they have from their first team on down. And, Giovanni, his father, Claudio, would make Claudio so unique, and Giovanni has a little bit that same ability. Is you could give him the ball under pressure, and it was like, okay, he'll connect the next pass. And as a player, as a teammate, you loved having a teammate like that because, oops, I'm in trouble, let me give it to him, and he'll be able to buy me some time.
It's been fun to watch that calm. Every time he gets on the ball, as you're saying, the game's hectic, a player collides with him, and you just see how the whole game calms down the moment he gets his foot on it. He bounces off pressure, even as one of the youngest players here, and then is able to find an outlet pass.
And then the question is that taught or is that innate?
Yeah.
And I think some of it's innate. It's the way, it's your character, it's your personality, and maybe it's how you grew up. But, players have things that are innate. Iniesta has some innate ability. Xavi had innate ability. Messi has innate ability. I don't think there was a coach who said, let me teach you how to dribble. It's something that came from within himself. Ball played down the wing. Onside here, it looks like it is Lopez. Over the challenge. A battle going on, and a free kick will go in favor of Philadelphia. John Wagner over to deal with this one. We are about 3.5 minutes into stoppage time. Can't imagine much more left here. And that'll be it. The Mexican side out of Monterrey. Tigres coming in 6 points in the group stage against the Philadelphia Union team that went undefeated in the group stage. Tigres gets a goal off a corner kick in the first half from Miguel Rodriguez, and then they score, Ziggy, just a minute into the second half to take the lead for good at 2-0. A red card laid on gave Philly a glimmer of hope. They were able to create some chances, but in the end, Tigres walk away winners. No, definitely, and it's the early goal in the second half that broke Philadelphia's back. The timing of that goal coming right out as you gotten your whole halftime talk. Your coach has motivated you, told you here's the things we need to do, and then 30 seconds later it's 2-0. and that just deflates the balloon. And then after that, Philadelphia actually caught the game, was the better team for the next 10 minutes or so, but couldn't get a goal, and it all changed from there.
Struggling marking on corner kicks allows Rodriguez to get his first goal, and this is just about 35 seconds in to the second half. As you said, Rodriguez scores the second. Some good things to take away for Philly, some not so good things as well, as this Mexican side controlled possession throughout up until the red card. Philly, some bright spots at the end of the game, some good talent out there on the field that you liked watching, but in the end, Tigres gets the win.
No, definitely. I thought Letts had some good moments in the game. Like I said, he was stranded a little bit. Brisma came on. I thought lended a little bit of life to the game, a little bit of enthusiasm. He was bright with his ability to take people on, and it helped there. And certainly their midfield started to control the game more. Kuhn got into the game more. I'd still like to see him get in the game even more. But overall, it was a good work effort from Philadelphia, and it's a game they're going to learn from, they're going to improve from.
Well, Tigres will improve and move on as they'll face off against NYCFC here at Toyota Stadium on Saturday, 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time on MLSsoccer.com. For Ziggy Schmidt and myself, David Goss, thank you so much for watching, and don't forget the championship semifinals coming up in just an hour on MLSsoccer.com.